Hi, I'm Katie and I'm one of the district leads of the Diversify Our Narrative campaign in FUHSD. You'll meet my co-lead JANYA in just a second. Diversify Our Narrative is a nationwide movement consisting of over 5,000 high school and college students fighting for racial justice through our education system. We believe that racial justice should not be a political issue, and our goal is to inspire everyone to push for much needed change in our schools while working alongside and recognizing the administrators and educators who have inspired us in so many amazing ways. Currently, our chapter consists of over 20 students and alumni of schools in FUHSD, and we've spent the past several months working with teachers and administrators at all 5 schools as well as at the district level to determine how we can best support our schools as they work toward our shared goal of inclusivity and representation in our curriculum. With that in mind, we asked a few of our members to share their personal experiences with representation in literature, and we hope you'll enjoy hearing what they have to say.
What does representation in literature mean to you?
To me, representation is twofold. First of all, representation is when, in a classroom, I feel like my experiences are uplifted, and I feel like I read my experiences in such a way that I can better articulate them, I can better understand them, and figure out how to reckon with my own identity in the current society that we live in. And second of all, representation is a tool to understand people's experiences that I will never be able to live through myself. So seeing Black and Indigenous people represented in literature gives me a better idea of how to support these communities, how to better uplift these communities, and how to really form in solidarity despite never living through each other's experiences.
Me as a student and all the students within the FUHSD will be able to see themselves and a semblance of their identity reflected in the things that we're learning in our literature classrooms, in our literature curriculum. And, whether that means reading works that are written by BIPOC authors about the BIPOC experience, or by people from a certain religious background, or of a certain sexual identity, or gender identity, I think that using all of those different aspects that can constitute someone's identity and who they think they are, having that being reflected in what we're learning in our literature classrooms so that students who may be part of marginalized groups or may not get to see themselves in everyday media is super, super important.
How well do you think diverse identities have been represented in school literature?
Throughout my own education, I've had the privilege of being able to consume literature with characters and stories that look and seem exactly like me. And I still think this did me and everyone else a huge disservice. Because when I became friends with a girl in college who uses a wheelchair, I knew absolutely nothing about the world and culture surrounding disability. It meant that I didn't know men could love men or women could love women until I was in middle school and realized my uncle's friend was actually his husband. It meant that I generally knew nothing about my friends' cultures, customs, and traditions, while they just automatically knew everything about mine. To me, that is extremely unfair, but it makes sense given that we all grew up generally reading about able-bodied, white, straight characters in literature, and I think that needs to change. I think education in general is all about preparing students to go out in the world and get jobs and interact with other people. And the truth is, the world is diverse, much more diverse than the characters and the stories in the books we read throughout our education. So I think proper representation in literature needs to both prepare students to interact with this diversity in the world, but also clearly demonstrate to that student who's reading the book that people who look like them and have experiences similar to them are also a valid, accepted, and very important part of today's society. And right now, I don't think the books we read in high school are necessarily accomplishing that goal.
I think diverse identities have been represented in my school fairly well. I think teachers nowadays are putting more of an emphasis on teaching literature from more diverse perspectives and also thinking about teaching through a more critical lens. But I think there's definitely work to be done to find literature that is from more diverse authors, ultimately.
I do wish that my background was more prominent in the curriculum. I want to read books about people who have gone through similar struggles as I have as a first generation Latinx student, or the struggles that my parents can relate to. Those are the types of things that I want to see in the classroom.
How have your teachers supported students of different backgrounds, and what would you like to see in your future classrooms?
In my junior year, we had this one unit about cultural assimilation and acclimation, and each group got to pick which book they read, and each book was by a different author from a different ethnicity. And I did get to read a book about an Indian woman who immigrated to America to start a new life, and I really liked that, and I feel like I would like to read more books like that so I could gain a perspective of different minority experiences in the United States.
In my personal experience, my high school teachers did a pretty great job at supporting students of different backgrounds. They really covered all the nuances and lessons that were to be learned from any books that we read that did capture diverse backgrounds, but the problem was just that there really weren't enough of these.
I do feel supported by my AVA teacher, Miss Paget. She's great. She's super understanding of anything that I come to her for and just who I am as a person. There's other adults on campus too, but I think it's important for teachers to really make their students know that they are cared about and that teachers are people that we should be able to come to, and I think that teachers should make sure that students know this.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to our experiences and perspectives as FUHSD students. We're really grateful for teachers like you who are willing to analyze teaching practices and curriculum across the district. If you'd like to get into contact with us, our email is diversifyournarrative@fuhsd@gmail.com, and you can also check out the website at diversifyournarrative.com.